and welcome to Truth, Health, and Wellness with Dr. Matt and Deborah St. John. We are glad you guys joined us today. And so, Matt and Deborah, tell us how your week's been and what you've been seeing.
It's been great. It's been a busy week. We're seeing a little bit of everything right now.
Yeah, it's pretty much running the gamut, I believe.
Yeah, I think people are experiencing a little bit of depression, anxiety, stress. It's a little bit more mental health this past week than even physiological health. I think because of, I think the year, we're getting into the year, politics in 2024 and taxes and there's so many variables that are causing stress that I think people are really stressed out right now. So we're seeing a lot of that, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of people. It's amazing how people open up. I mean, people are just coming to us and just saying, just pouring it out.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting appointments where people are just, bringing their entire families, and it's like they'll bring their daughter or they'll bring their husband so that everybody can tell on everyone. So it works out pretty well. But there's a lot of need out there, and there's a lot of sickness. There's a lot of people who they're hearing that there's a better way. They're seeing their friends getting better. They watched during COVID as the people who did natural, fared extremely well, and the people that didn't did very poorly. And as time progresses, I think we're having this new attraction to truth.
Yeah.
I mean, people are so tired of lies.
Yes.
The media lies, Hollywood lies, television lies, the World Wide Web lies, but yet, the truth is something that you just don't see and hear as much anymore.
Right.
And so when you do hear and see and know truth, which I believe people's discernment is on, their antennas are up these days, I think it makes a big difference, and you can really see that discernment and people's good sense, the people that are looking for truth. There are a lot of people that aren't looking for truth.
Right.
They don't care.
They don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it. They're still they have their heads in the ground. But for people that are seeking truth, there's two things that are happening. They're getting healthier. They're getting into natural medicine, and they're seeking God. They're seeking the Creator, and it's pretty exciting on all fronts.
And they're telling their friends and family, and getting people on board with them. It's really beautiful.
There's so many people that are coming in, and they're getting things to help their family and their friends, and there's so many others. And we try to help as much as we can. We're nonprofit, so we try to help anyone to be able to afford or have good health. And so that I don't want money to be an obstacle for people, and we do offer as much help as we can because we are a nonprofit. But it's really neat to see the transition, and we've seen so many people who the testimonies. We had a testimonial today that just made me nearly cry.
That may be the one. I saw one that popped in on Facebook that was an amazing testimony.
Yeah,
so
I think that was it.
Yeah, I could probably pull it up and read it or something. But it was from some Miss Leonard, and we had helped her during COVID early on.
Yes, that was it.
And she has this incredible testimony, and she's been going on our Google page and leaving us great reviews. And
she tells everybody she knows about
story,
that story,
yeah.
and it is so sweet.
It's really precious, and we were just handling her like we handled everyone. She's a precious woman. She's affiliated with Trinity Church here in Oxford, and it's just an amazing group of people, really, that we're seeing. We're seeing that St. John's is like a culture of people that are coming to us, and they don't all agree about everything. There's the left wing and the right wing. There are the Christians, and they're the people who haven't found that yet, and they're people. But once again, it's interesting because everyone that seems to come to us are people who seek and appreciate the truth.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you seek and appreciate the truth, then we're on the same page, and we'll be able to work with you.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, for everybody out there, if this is your first time tuning in, we are live. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask Dr. Matt and Deborah, call in on that number on your screen, or you can email us anything on Facebook Live right now, and we'll try to get that question to them and see if we can't get you an answer. We're going to go ahead and jump in. Last week at the end of the show, you told us you were going to answer a question about bursitis. So if I'm saying it right, is there any kind of treatment for bursitis pain?
There are several things. What I found to be most effective, I tend to have inflamed bursa. And a lot of your connective tissue, we have muscles, we have joints, we have our tendons, we have our ligaments, we have our bones. And people think, well, I have a joint problem. Well, sometimes it's not just a joint problem. Sometimes it's particular components that make up the joint, or it's like an inflamed bursa. And to reduce the inflammation, you can use things like curcumin, or the turmeric, or you can use bromelain is a really good one, in particular for an inflamed bursa.
And it's something you take. It's not something you rub on it, right?
Right, exactly. That's there are several things, of course, that you can use topically, like a lot of the CBD creams and other things that can help to really penetrate and to help with the pain. But once again, it's about really reducing the inflammation.
Okay.
It's about inflammation reduction. And so when you take like the curcumin at a good strong dose, and in particular the bromelain for inflamed bursa, bromelain is actually found in pineapple. So it's one of the things that in pineapple, when you eat pineapple, you get this sort of a bitter taste. It's part of that is the bromelain content, and bromelain's been shown to be a pretty potent anti-inflammatory for particular parts of the body, and one of those is the bursa. So taking like a 1,500 milligrams to 3,000 milligrams a day of rutin.
Bromelain.
Bromelain is extremely helpful. Rutin helps with the nerve stuff. It's not as much, but for sciatica, rutin is a great one. Matter of fact, you love rutin.
I love rutin.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really good for nerve pain. But for inflamed bursa, probably the curcumin and bromelain would be the absolute best to start out with first.
And if they're actually trying to eat something, so just pineapple, or is there anything else that has the other ingredient in it that you mentioned?
It's going to be it's going to be the best concentration in pineapple. And because pineapple is so good for digestion, bromelain originally was thought just to be a digestive aid. But as people started taking higher doses of bromelain, they realized really quickly that their inflammation was being reduced. So then the studies that they conducted showing that the inflammation was reduced, was conclusive. So it's really cool that we have something like that now.
Turmeric is actually a spice that they use in Indian food a lot. So if you eat a lot of Indian food, you get a lot of turmeric.
And
True.
isn't it orangish yellow? Because that's what I
It
was
is.
wondering when I was asking if you rub it on or
it's
not. Because
very-
I was thinking
very
you go
orange.
around with.
Yeah, they use it for dye. They dye
Okay.
things.
They use it
with
in curry and a lot of your Thai dishes, which my wife doesn't like curry, we've
don't like
discovered.
curry.
I
She doesn't
don't
like
either.
curry.
Same page.
Good.
Cool, yeah, I finally found some Thai food that she likes, but it has nothing to do with curry.
Nothing to do with it.
But once again, it's not because she doesn't like curcumin or
No,
turmeric.
no,
Yeah, it's
I
really
know.
important. We've been actually making fire cider, so we've been
Yes.
really messing with the turmeric.
The roots,
And what's funny with turmeric, they're kind of gross looking. They look like little
they
worms.
look like little, almost like nubby fingers.
Little grub worms, like they.
Okay.
And so then what's weird is that when we go to a Ketos, we always go by these booths where they sell street food. And some of the best food we've ever had in a Ketos, if this is in Peru, this is in the Amazon jungle. When we get to this big city of Iquitos, they're selling street food, and we've had some of the best food in our lives from on the streets there. And just have to be careful about the water, and so how things are cooked. So they have these worms on a stick. I'm not joking. They found the worms in the palm trees. We had several on our
Grubs, yeah.
land, grub worms, and they eat the palm, but the palm is so healthy that these worms are like extremely healthy.
They're fat.
They're fat and white and about that big, and they put them on a stick and then they fry them,
Okay.
and then they sell them to people who eat that.
Skewered stick worms.
Skewered worms.
Some people eat them raw.
Some people do eat them raw. We're not going to do that, and we're still debating on whether or not. We keep wanting to stop, but just kind of like it took us 2 trips or 3 trips to the Amazon before we jumped in.
So you have tried
least
it, or
three.
you have not?
No, we haven't.
Not yet.
So if
But-
you do, please video that, because that'd be
we
great.
definitely
We
will.
will. I do have a video of me eating a cashew. Do you know how cashews grow?
I do not.
Cashews are a fruit, and they grow. The nut grows on top of the fruit, right?
Like on the bottom, kind of. I think.
Well,
So
the bottom
like
of
if
the
you
top.
have an
apple.
acorn, it would be that little nub at the end, kind of.
Well, it grows on looks like an apple. They call it a cashew apple.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like
And
a
it does look like a little apple type
or
fruit.
a pepper.
And
like
then at the very bottom, the cashew seed, which is actually a seed and not a nut,
Wow.
believe it or not,
Yeah.
grows on it, right on the bottom
it
of
is
it.
curved just like the cashew's curved, except it's you need to dry them.
Well, it's in a shell,
Yeah.
And you need to dry it out and then be real careful about opening it because it actually has the same constituents in it as poison oak.
Yeah, and there's a
But
video
yet
on
I
YouTube.
love cashews, but I hate poison oak.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
gotta.
yeah. Well, if you go to
gotta-
if you go to our page on YouTube, you'll actually find a video of us in a hotel room in Iquitos, Peru, eating a cashew fruit nut, which is not really a nut, for the first time, and it's me eating it. And basically, what happened, long story short, is I had, of course, an allergic reaction to trying to consume this nut before it was dried or dehydrated.
Because we didn't know you were
Right.
supposed
There's
to
a
dry
reason,
it
by the way,
I wouldn't
cashews
have.
are so expensive. You know
Yeah,
how expensive
they
cashews are.
are.
You get the mixed nuts, and there's like 8 cashews and
Yeah.
the 2,000 peanuts. There's a reason. It's because the stuff is really hard to harvest.
Oh, yeah.
And if you try to eat it before it's properly
it's green still,
processed, when it's
basically.
green, your mouth is going to swell up, your tongue's going to swell up.
And your skin will start sloughing off.
Yeah, and you're
Okay.
basically it's kind of like your mouth's falling apart.
It's
real weird.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
probably
strange.
not a good thing to have happen.
Thankfully, I lived, and because I was on video, I didn't really have that bad of a reaction, but it was entertaining, and I'm sure it's entertaining for
we
anyone watching.
researched it after we got back to
Yeah,
the
we-
United States.
Yeah, we
And
researched
they're
it
like,
after I ate it.
"Oh."
Yeah, after we
No
tried to
wonder.
eat it, then we researched it. That's smart, right?
Wow, I just didn't. I had no idea on that, and I love them, but
Yeah.
But the worms will be safer is the funny thing. I know that we're not going to keel over
Yeah.
dead from the worms, but I really just don't like the idea of eating worms.
Yeah,
It's a
that's-
little,
Personally,
it's a
yeah.
little scary, but
Yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
of people do it. So
Yeah. Chances are we'll do it in 3 weeks.
you let us
so.
know and make sure and video that.
I'll definitely video it.
Well, on to the next one. And again, for everyone out there, if you have any questions, call the number on your screen, or you can send them in live on Facebook, and Dr. Matt and Deborah are going to try to answer them for you here live on the air. Can you explain the benefits of a glandular supplement, or of glandular supplements, and what they are exactly?
All right, this is interesting. For about 40 years, maybe 60 years, Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, loved to criticize natural medicine.
Yes.
Now, of course, as we've explained before, now they love profiting from our industry because they own the majority of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, back then, it was all snake oil. They'd be, no, that stuff's snake oil, it doesn't work. When it came to glandular supplements especially, they hated it. Okay, they didn't really hate it because it didn't work, even though they said it didn't work. They hated it because the stuff worked. Here's the deal. What is Armour Thyroid? Have you ever heard of Armour Thyroid?
I have, actually.
Okay, what do you know about Armour Thyroid?
Isn't that the replacement, the healthier version compounded for the thyroid gland,
Great.
or no?
That's enough for us to get started. Okay, so when you go to the doctor, the endocrinologist or what have you, and you get your thyroid checked, they normally check for TSH. Now, in this region, this is a huge issue. I would estimate that 70% of this region has thyroid disease or they're working on it.
Wow.
The reason is you can thank Monsanto / Solutia, you can thank Libras, you can thank Tool Chemical, you can thank all these different companies that have been pouring waste into your environment for the past 60 years or 80 years. Chemical Weapons Incinerator, the 2 EPA Superfund sites that no one even knows is here at the depot and Tool Chemicals. There's a lot more, but anyway, we live in a hazardous waste area. So as a result of the hazardous waste area that we live in and that we exist in this region, people have thyroid problems. Now, why is the thyroid targeted? Well, but I think because it's such a small and sensitive gland. It's located right around here. Thyroid looks like a butterfly, and it's a little gland. There's the thyroid and the parathyroid. Now, what's strange is that when you end up with high TSH levels, they say, oh, well, your thyroid is trying to work too hard, so there's a problem. So they turn around and they write a prescription for something called Synthroid, or T4.
Yes.
Okay, which is garbage. The least effective medication ever created for thyroid.
Wow.
And everyone's on it. That's the only one. And it's just enough to keep you alive, and it's just enough to keep your thyroid within healthy levels. Now, your thyroid levels, it's like a tank on your car.
Uh-huh.
You have E and you have F, right? Or would it be E and F? Anyway, E and F, that's confusing to look at that screen. E and F, well, do you really, and let's say, I mean, between E and F, you have fuel.
Yeah.
You're within the normal parameters of needing fuel for your car. You're within the normal range, right? But do you really want to be on E?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be over here toward F?
Definitely toward the F, yeah.
Right, and with your thyroid, the difference between being over here near E and being over here toward F has to do with your energy level, your weight loss, your ability to have a fast metabolism, your ability to think straight, your cardiovascular health. Why would you not want to be toward F instead of toward E? Well, they don't care normally at the endocrinologist. They say, well, now your thyroid's within the healthy levels. Now that we've prescribed this T4, enjoy being fat and tired. So that, because you're only going to get so much energy and you're only going to lose so much weight by taking T4 ever. Because T4 will not convert to T3, even though T3 will convert to T4. Now, T3 is a drug, an ancient drug called Cytomel. They won't prescribe it. You can't even get someone to prescribe it. So the other alternative is to use Armour Thyroid, the original, what I call the original thyroid. And Armour Thyroid has T1, T2, T3, T4. Why? Because it's a freeze-dried thyroid gland from a pig.
I was thinking something had to do with a pig.
So they freeze-dry the thyroids. You can use a pig or a cow. They dehydrate them. They go to freeze-dry. They test them, make sure that they're pure and whatnot, and then they make a medication out of it. And all you're eating, basically, is you're eating the gland of a cow. Does that sound gross? I don't know. Does your steak seem gross?
Well,
there's no difference.
True.
It's a cow. You eat the cow's,
Or bacon from
thyroid.
a pig.
Yeah, or bacon from a pig, which is even worse as far as health-wise. So you have this thyroid now that you're taking that's natural. Your body identifies it as natural, and your thyroid level increases or balances out. We've never seen anyone who's used Armour or glandular thyroid. Now, this is another interesting thing. Armour Thyroid is so old, and one of the reasons that they don't really push it too much is because you don't need a prescription to get glandular thyroid. We have glandular thyroid.
Okay.
We have glandular thyroid that's actually extracted from a cow rather than a pig. And so when people take this, it doesn't contraindicate with T4, which is really cool because they can incorporate it, especially, of course, talk to your endocrinologist and see if they know anything about it, or help educate them about it, but research it for yourself. And so when you start on glandular thyroid, what ends up happening, people will have their thyroid regulated really quickly, but they actually feel it.
Oh,
so
wow.
instead of being over here on E, they're over here toward F, and they feel great. Now, hyperthyroidism is not a good thing. You don't want to throw yourself into hyperthyroidism because that's that's when you have insomnia, you have too much energy, you're jittery, your eyes stick out and bulge out really heavy. But you know if that happens.
Yeah.
If you don't sleep, I think you know it. If you have too much stimulation, you know it. If your eyes are bugging out, you know it. So that doesn't take long for someone to understand or realize. And of course, what most people do is, of course, go get their labs. And they go to their endocrinologist and they say, I need some more labs. The endocrinologist says, wow, your labs look great. Your thyroid looks incredible. And they say, okay, that's wonderful. I've dropped that T4 two months ago and I've been on glandular thyroid since. The doctor says, leave. Or whatever. No, the doctor says, hopefully the doctor will say, wonderful, let me write that down and research it for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then do you have to, when you get tested for that at your endocrinologist or the doctor, do you have to ask specifically you want the 4 and 3 tested, or are they only going to test for 1 or something?
They'll test for half the time they only test for TSH.
Right. Okay.
They don't want you to really know
Okay.
whether or not your T3 or T4 is messed up. I'm going to say they, that's not
But just
across
in
the board.
general,
But
you
in general,
need
you
to-
want to ask, say, I need a full panel, including my thyroid panel. I want a T3 and T4,
Okay.
along with the TSH. And then that will give you a true indication of actually how your thyroid's doing.
Okay.
And we need our thyroids. Our thyroids are extremely important. We have people, of course, who have to have, they have goiters, they have thyroid surgery, they have thyroidectomies, and that happens. And so, those glandulars can be extremely effective for those people, because without a thyroid, you have no thyroid. And that also goes for kidney glandulars. Literally, the raw kidney of cattle, people
Okay.
consume it in a capsule form, freeze dried, and it helps to build the kidneys.
Really?
And we know this firsthand. I even know this personally through my dad, who, at 17 years old, which has been, I don't know, 60 or 50 something years ago, he had
Way longer than that.
Yeah,
He's like 80 something.
Is he really? Oh, he is that old. Okay, sorry, Dad. So even as old as you are, Dad, no, I'm just kidding. All these years, though, his kidney function, they never believed his kidney function would be what it is today.
Wow.
Never. At 17 years old, literally, he couldn't go to Vietnam and he couldn't go to work at Goodyear. That's 2 big things in Gadsden at the time.
Right.
Because he literally had already had kidney stone surgery at 17 years old. From here to here has a cut. Back then, they used,
Okay.
caveman utensils, rather than laser surgery to blast them. And so because of that, they wouldn't allow him to even sign up for the military, wouldn't allow him to, go to work at Goodyear, which was actually a great thing for us because he ended up in the grocery business, which was better. Or was it better? I don't know. Our health and everything. But anyway, I'm proud of my dad and how hard he's worked his whole life and everything. So, but it's really wild to see his kidney function. Even today, when he was born with bad kidneys, they're still working. They're still functioning. It doesn't have the greatest kidney function in the world, but he's not anywhere close to dialysis or anything like that. And we're absolutely, we know that he would be on dialysis by
So
now.
if someone is having kidney problems right now, is that something like with the liver that's slightly reversible if they come to that?
It is. You can cleanse your kidneys.
Okay.
We actually have a product called Kidney Cleanse. And the way we think about, doing a colon cleanse, everyone knows what a colon cleanse is. Anyone who's, eaten something bad, and had digestive problems knows what a colon cleanse is. But people, they'll latch onto the concept of a colon cleanse being good. And then a liver cleanse, we now accept that a liver cleanse is very effective to help with, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and all these different issues that we have with our livers. But most people don't think about that we can cleanse our respiratory, we can cleanse our lungs, we can cleanse our pulmonary, we can cleanse our kidneys. And it's a fact. And not only can we cleanse them, but we can help build them up with even like these glandular extracts.
Wow.
So it's really cool. And it's not just the kidney, it's also raw liver. There's raw liver supplements that people.
Pancreas.
Raw pancreas, raw pituitary, raw pineal. All these are available.
Adrenal formulas and
Yeah. Well, think about it. When you take a cow and you slaughter a cow, should you not use everything
All
you
the
can?
parts,
Right.
yeah.
That's the respectful thing to do
Yeah.
if you're killing an animal, is to use everything you can. And at least the good thing, I don't know, I'm not really a huge fan of the cattle industry, but they have, obviously, for profit's sake, figured out how to profit from every part of the cow. And that's a beautiful thing when it comes to these glandulars.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a vegan, sorry, you're not going to want this, and understand that. And I'm completely and I understand vegans' principles when it comes to whatever principle they have when it comes to whether or not they just love animals to the point they can't stand the idea of having to kill one for food, or if it's just they're just doing it for their health reasons. I understand veganism, and of course, once again, a vegetarian. That's someone who typically is not purely vegan. They can consume eggs and fish maybe,
Right.
but or maybe just eggs sometimes. But yeah, when you're vegan, glandulars aren't the most attractive thing. So.
Well, that I'm blown away by that. But let's go ahead again. Anyone out there, if you have questions, call in on the number on your screen or send them through Facebook, and we will try to get them answered for you. Let's go to the next question. Do you have any suggestions for a child's earache infection?
Oh wow, yeah, that's something we're seeing right now.
Bit
a good
right
bit
now.
of, and it's pretty easy fix for most kids. It's they normally get over them pretty easily, but what happens is when you're having chronic reoccurring ear infections, there's a greater problem. There's something else going on. Now, as far as just the ears, using ear candles. Have you ever heard of an ear candle?
I have actually.
Yeah, they're
coming
pretty,
from Hollywood. I've heard a lot about.
Oh
them
yeah,
out
they
there,
were
so,
ear
yeah.
candling in Hollywood long before they were ear candling here. But it's really neat. Basically, it's a cylinder tube that's made of paper, and then they'll coat it in beeswax or paraffin, and of course that beeswax or paraffin will burn, and it's in like a cone shape. So they're normally about this big around, and then they go down into a cone which fits into your ear. You lay on your side. If we were on this table, I'd be laying on my side with my ear up. We'd put the ear candle in my ear. We'd put a paper plate or preferably an aluminum pie pan. We would cut a little hole in it, just the size of the ear candle. We put it over the ear candle about 2 inches from your head, because you don't want to catch your head on fire or your hair. We don't want a
Yeah, that
Michael
would be
Jackson
bad.
incident. Half the people listening don't even know what that is. He was doing a commercial for Pepsi Cola's hair caught on fire. But anyway, so you don't want their hair to catch on fire. I actually had a guy's face get burned one time. Thank the Lord he didn't sue me. Anyway, so that's also the last time I did ear candles at St.
Yeah,
John's
right.
Nutrition for someone. Sorry, guy.
The risk is real.
It is real, and thankfully he didn't sue me. So you light the other end of it. So now you're dealing with ears, laying down, and catching something on fire that's in your ear. So already a lot of people are saying, which I don't blame you. If you don't like this, then But if you can get your kid to sit down for 5 minutes, if your kid can't even sit down for 5 minutes, you're also kind of up a creek. Turn the TV.
Depends on the age for sure.
It really does. You can't do this on a 2-year-old. So as the candle burns down, as this paraffin and candle or whatever it might be, paraffin or beeswax burns down, it draws through the cylinder tube. The smoke and the heat draws up into the tube earwax. Well, first thing it does is does away with moisture.
Okay.
And moisture in the ears are a common problem, and it's one of the reasons that a lot of people get sick. It's the reason at the beginning of the summer why a bunch of kids get sick, and it's the reason during the winter why kids get sick, because they get outside, get cold, get moisture, and it gets cold, and then they go back in, it gets warm, their ears have moisture in it. So this gets the moisture out, then it pulls the earwax out. And we've had people, I'm talking, it looks like a Civil War bullet sometimes. Anyone has ever seen a Civil War bullet? That's that's an old bullet they found. It looks like that in many cases. Not very pretty, but I can guarantee you want to see it. Everybody wants to see it. They act like they don't, and it's like, I don't want to see that, and then you look over there tearing in the thing, and looking at it, ew, gross.
Do you have a trophy jar on the counter?
No, it goes in the trash can. I don't ever want to see anyone's earwax after a second. So and it can help. Now, an ear, nose, and throat specialist hates everything they just heard,
Right.
and they're like, geez, that's the worst idea ever. And they actually almost banned ear candles for a few months.
Well, they kind of did.
They did actually, and a friend of mine, Harmony from Harmony Cone, it was the largest ear candle manufacturer in the world. First time that I ever met this young lady. Her name's Harmony, right? Her first name is literally Harmony. And so she pulls up with her husband and like 4 kids with a Volkswagen van up to our store, first health food store I had 30 years ago at Cedartown, Georgia. She pulls up in this hippie van. And she's like, hey man, you want to buy some of my ear candles? And I'm like, yeah, I do, because you're all hilarious. And it was really neat because she would hire special needs people to work in her facility. And they were just super eccentric. And next thing I knew, she starts this company called Harmony Cone. And then I see her go from, all of a sudden she's getting distributorships and she's doing marketing. And the next thing I know, I've got to get an appointment to even talk to my friend. And it rags to riches. Then they banned ear candles. But Harmony's no dummy. She had already put a factory in Brazil, had got a business license in Brazil. As soon as they did it in the United States, she starts manufacturing in Brazil, starts shipping out of Brazil back into the United States because there was a loophole or something. It was illegal to manufacture them, but not illegal to sell. It was weird. And so the whole country was able to keep ear candles in stock because of this one woman's determination.
Wow.
And then, of course, the ban was appealed, and it ended up, you can buy ear candles all you want now. You just need to know how to use them. And normally we give a piece of paper that explains how to use them if people ask for it. That's really helpful. But then, after you use the ear candle, you've taken out the wax, you've taken out the moisture, there's some inflammation that'll be there. I mean, anytime you use fire to do something, there's going to be a little bit of inflammation. So the help for that is something called a garlic and mullein ear oil. Garlic and mullein are both very soothing to the ear, and the garlic, of course, is a natural antibiotic, and the mullein is also somewhat of a natural antibiotic, but it soothes the inner ear. And so we have an ear oil. Actually, you made it.
I did.
She makes it by hand at St. John's, and it's an amazing ear oil that the kids love. And so it's really soothing, especially, and the kids like that part. Sometimes they love the ear candle, especially when they get to see what's inside their ears. And then another neat part of this whole deal is that the kids hear better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of people think their kids are just ignoring them.
Whether they want to hear you or not.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, a lot of times you think your kid's ignoring you, and maybe their ears are stopped up.
Well, another thing is probiotics.
Absolutely. Probiotics will do more for immune function for most people than anything else they can take. And I've said this before, we get down to a ketose a few weeks from now, and we're like, oh no, I forgot my supplements, which won't happen, but still it could happen. I'm not going to run to the health food store. There's not really one, but I mean, I'm not going to run to the pharmacy or whatever to pick up, vitamin C and this, that, and the other. I'm going to go make sure that I have a human strain, high quality probiotic, because that's so important for my biome, my human biome. And the more I study and the more I research, the more we keep having it confirmed that children who didn't breastfeed, once again, my mom, wonderful homemaker, she did everything, as best as she could. But at the time, they were told in the 70s, mid 70s, hey, our formulas are better and healthier for kids than your milk is, and they believed it. And so I didn't nurse as a child, and as a result, that bifidum, that probiotics, it just wasn't in my system, and my immune system was never what it should be until now. But the probiotics are key.
Well, with that, really quick, for our viewers out there, and even for me, difference between pro and prebiotics.
Probiotics are the friendly bacterium that exist in our colon, throughout our body, even our mouths, even on top of our hands. You have probiotics on your hands. Friendly bacteria is living on your hands.
On all your skin.
On all your skin.
But don't go lick your fingers to...
No, don't.
No.
Well, preferably don't, but I mean, still. So those are probiotics. Prebiotics are constituents that feed probiotics.
The food for the probiotic.
Okay.
Right. So it's like the probiotics are the dogs and the prebiotics are the dog food.
Got it.
If that makes any sense.
The probiotics have to be fed, to flourish and be healthy and survive, and you got to give them good food. You got to give them good stuff to eat, just like us.
Yeah. Inulin is a common fiber that's used. There are others too. We just got a new fiber formula in by Blue Bonnet that's sitting on my desk. I haven't even looked at it, so I can't even talk about it. But anyway, I could tell though that it had inulin and several other prebiotics that were super awesome. Okay. Some people need prebiotics more than they do probiotics. For me, I have to have a human strain probiotic because I never at birth got what I needed, and it's that important.
Wow. Well, for all our viewers out there, we are running out of time for this episode, but if you do have questions, please go ahead and send them in. You can send them to Matt and Deborah. You can send them in here, and we'll go back and look at this. But we want to thank you for joining us today. We will be right back here next week, same time, same place. So please join us again. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.